All right, good morning and greetings to the entire world. Greetings from South Georgia, USA. We are out here this morning early and we are going to graft a persimmon called coffee cake onto this American persimmon rootstock. This is a male plant and it's one that I started from seed, and I'm going to use two different methods. I bought this rootstock. I'll tell you where in a minute. Nursery in California. And I'm going to use one method of grafting here called cleft grafting. And I'm going to use another type too. So I'm going to give you an idea of how this works. This is not too large here, and that's good for this particular cleft grafting. So let me get my scion wood, and I will tell you a little bit more about it in just a second. Okay, it's this is my label that I made with aluminum flashing coffee cake, and I'm only doing one kind on each tree, and I'm only going to have to tag the tree just with one label, so that if I want to know what this thing is later, I will be able to find out. I bought 4 pieces of scion wood. I've already used 2. And let's see, we're going to make a cleft graft. We only got one bud. We're going to leave it at one bud. Okay, this piece here has 2 buds up here and one here. So the cleft graft is one of the easiest to make if you have the right size. And basically all it is you stick it down. I'm going to put our buds to the outside if possible. Get down here where I can see a little better, and we're trying to match the cambium layers up. Now I don't want to push it too hard down in there because we will tear the bark. And so I'm using the knife to pull the cleft apart. I'm sitting it on a slight angle so that at some point the cambium layer will touch the cambium layer of this. If I put it straight down, then it's possible to miss it. So I'm going to put that one, and I forgot one of my steps, and I'm going to have to start because I forgot. And the step is to wrap this with parafilm. I may be able to do it with it in there, but I don't like to because I can do a better job holding it. So I'm going to take it out. Okay. I always forget this step, but if you don't wrap, come on, get apart. If you don't wrap this with parafilm, it will dry out before it takes. Okay, this is the parafilm. Now I start at the top, make sure that I get the top covered, and then I stretch it pretty good, and then go over the buds. I didn't remove these 2 buds even though they were very close together. But the reason I didn't do that was because I don't know which of those buds might take and which one might take better. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare the second piece while I am here. All right, this one here is, there's one bud, and one bud. So I'm going to have to cut this off here. There's no reason to have a bunch of stuff up above the top bud. So we'll cut that off. We'll cut that off and get a fresh piece. Maybe even a little more. And now we will go ahead and get our now when I'm doing this, I'm having to put quite a bit of pressure. So I'm trying not to damage these buds up here as I hold it. Okay, we've got a pretty good piece of cambium layer on that side. Okay, wrap the top. This parafilm this parafilm here, buddy tape they call it. It is the best parafilm for this, but it is also the most expensive. And on this right here that I'm doing here, I think it's the best because it stretches very good. And then when you get to your bud, you can stretch it out and have a very thin film over the bud. And that bud will then, I'll show you the other kind of parafilm. The other kind is the parafilm M, and it's much wider, much cheaper, and it doesn't stretch quite as well without breaking. But for some applications, and I'll show it to you, that's good. Okay, now back to the drawing board. Like I said, I'm trying to go in at an angle because we know that the cambium layer will cross and touch the cambium here at some point if we go in at a slight angle. Same thing here. It's touching right here. Now these, I know these are touching here. Now, I'm going to show you where the parafilm M, the wide one, comes in handy right here. It's a less expensive alternative. Okay, get back to you. All right, now what we're wanting to do is seal up this crack right here and all around here. So what I'm going to do, if you pull this real fast, you can tear it. And I like to kind of pre-stretch it a little bit. You'll get used to working with this stuff here. If you try to just pull it, you ought to pull it in half. So I like to kind of pre-stretch it with my fingers like this. Okay, so I'm going to go here. And that's going to get the bulk of it covered up. And I'm going to kind of push it down a little bit. Now the crack, see, goes way down there. See? So we don't want that exposed either. So I'm going to get another piece of this, and I'm going to wrap it lower. I'm going to stretch it. Now this coffee cake I got from the scion wood from a nursery in California. And they had a really large selection of persimmon scion wood, and these have kind of come recommended for being good for this area of the South right here. So I'm just going around it with this wider parafilm, and I only got 4 pieces of scion wood from each type. I got coffee cake, and one called chocolate, one called Izu, and the other one I can't think of it. Tamopan. Tamopan. Now you see here, we still got exposed areas right here. So what I'm going to do now is get the other parafilm, and I'll show you how it's useful in these smaller areas. All right, now this budding tape, this is the expensive stuff. It comes on a roll, and it's perforated so that when you pull it, it comes apart in one little piece right there. So basically, this stuff here stretches further, and I can make some better. Now these are in there pretty good. When you split a piece like that, these are in there pretty good. All right, the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to cover this also with the black pruning sealer, just to make sure that we don't leave any air spaces, because if rain gets down in that crack and all, it could mess up this. I'm almost sure that the cambium layers are touching because I went in at a slight angle. Okay, now another way, I'm gonna go get another piece of wood, and we're gonna put another graft down here, a different method. If I just get one to take, then I'll have a tree of this coffee cake, and then I can take pieces of it as it grows up and graft more. Let me grab my other piece of wood, I think is what I'm trying to find. All right, this is another method. Now there's one other thing I wanted to tell you that I learned years ago. Persimmon trees don't like to be grafted down very close to the ground. For some reason, they do better if you start to graft up a foot or two, at least 1 foot, but somewhere along in here they seem to. But if you do it real close to the ground, they don't seem to take. I'm gonna cut this off. They don't seem to take quite as well. I don't know why that is. Okay, here we go. I want to make sure I don't lose this. I'm going to lay it down across that where I can see it. Coffee cake. All right, I forgot what you call this graft here, but I like it. I like this kind of graft. Okay, so you go straight down, and you have to have a rootstock that has a decent size bark, a decent size somewhere along in this, because the bark will peel back nicely. Okay, so you make a straight cut down, then you make a straight cut across. You make a T. Now very gently you reach under, and the bark this time of year is slipping. You can only do this when the bark is slipping. You see it comes apart from the tree very carefully. You don't want to break the bark. There we go. Now you go to the other side and do the same thing. There we go. Like I said, I forgot what they call this. I know how to do it, but I can't remember all the names. Okay. We'll start. Oh no, let's see. I'm gonna stick this one in there. All right, so I've got my two buds, one here and one here, and I am not gonna forget to get the budding tape, which I think I put in my pocket. But first I'm gonna cut the taper, because there we go. I'll know how far down to go. Budding tape, take off one piece, and the bud on this one is right at the very tip, but you don't want to wrap your bud more than one layer. So you have to manipulate this stuff so that you want to wrap down right to the top of the bud, and then your next wrap will go around the bud. Pull it on out so it'll be thin. And believe it or not, you can save these little pieces right here. They come in handy. All right, now here's the trick right here. This is how it works. You just slip it behind it like that. And I really didn't have to. Let's try this side and see if it works better. And what you're doing is you're touching the cambiums together now. There's a little gap right there. You got to seal that up. All right, so we're going to go with the, apparently I left my parafilm M over there. Okay, so we're going to, now this parafilm M comes on a roll in a little box, and you have to separate the paper from the, I want enough to go around this tree a couple of times. Like I said, and if you do it quick, it'll tear. So here we go. And this puts a good bit of pressure on it. Like that. Now I'm probably going to use this little piece that I had left over here. I'm going to try to use it right in here to seal this hole a little bit. Well, that didn't do much good right there. But I'm about out of this budding tape. I'm going to have to order some. I think it's like $35 or something like that. It's pretty expensive stuff. But it is the stuff that works very well. Okay, now we're gonna do another one of these. Same ones right here. I'm trying to get one to take. I might do this one over here. And I've still got scion wood to go. So we're gonna go with another one. All right, so I've already showed you how to do this, so I'm just gonna work on this one. I'm gonna put another one over here, possibly another one over here. My goal is to get one tree that definitely has this kind of wood on it, and then I'll be able to expand from there. So multiple grafts, I think, will help me. So let's see here. All right, so I'm going to do one just like this. So we're just going to pause right now and I'll do it. Yeah, I've already showed you how to do it. So, all right, this is the last step here. I feel pretty good about this. So we want to make sure that we get enough of this goo on here to seal up any cracks that we didn't get with the parafilm. So we'll kind of go up on the stem a little bit. And I like to come by the next day a little bit, and because when this dries, sometimes you see a place that you didn't get. And down here, I'll get behind get some right down in there behind. And the tree heals its own wound. It's amazing how God made these trees to act and work. They heal themselves, much like a person. When a person has a wound, it heals itself. And I would say, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that is a miracle. That the Creator God not only created the human beings and the earth and the stars, but also created a healing mechanism in all organisms. Humans are the same way. Amazing healing powers. I see a spot here. Now, a God that can do that can create the complexity of the human, the universe, The complexity of God, the complexity of His creation is millions of times more complex than we can even understand. And when we do make scientific progress, which we do, we discover scientific progress is nothing but discoveries. We're discovering what God did and using. This is one of them right here. Many, many years ago, some very astute horticulturalists, people that work with trees, found where two trees had rubbed together and grafted together. That was a discovery. They didn't invent that. That's nature. That's God's creation. And so they used it to their advantage. Okay, so we can rub two trees together. And they did that. They would tie them together and they would eventually graft, one to another. Then they figured out how to use knives to make it even more efficient. And they make more and more discoveries. But this is the point I was going to make. For every discovery they make, 10 more questions come up as how it happens. They do not get closer to the answer. So every time they discover a new particle, they find out that that's not the end. And it becomes more complicated as they dig into it. Now that's because God made it that way. Because we are not going to be allowed to figure God out. He is too powerful and He made it that way for a reason. In my opinion, the reason is to bring us to humility, for us to realize that we're not the creators and that the Creator made us. We're the creatures. But we, being proud animals, begin to take credit for what God did. We call it science. There's a well-known commercial going around television right now of a company that makes cat food and dog food. And the statement is made about this wonderful food that they have concocted. Science did that. Well, that's the ultimate proud statement. Science didn't do anything. God did it. We discovered it and put it to our use. Science, it does not do anything. But we think we are taught that science, and we worship science. I hope I can come back and visit this tree in a week or two, and I hope that I will show you some sprouted buds from this. What is it? Coffee cake. Now, what are we to do about what I just told you? That we don't invent anything. We only discover what has already been invented. Well, God not only gave built-in healing into the trees, the animals, and into us, that our bodies heal themselves, but He also built in a mechanism by which we can overcome our mortal existence. Mortal means we are temporary. Soon as we're born, we're bound to die. And that mechanism was by Jesus Christ, Yeshua the Messiah. Scarcely a person out there has not heard of Jesus and how he died to make it possible, how he, being God, made himself into a human being, 100% a human being, and still be God. That's the way he did it. If he can do this right here, make these trees, make these, all this stuff, he can do anything he wants to do. And the only thing that Jesus asks of us is that we believe. Believe in him. And when you believe in Jesus, and when you seek out the truth, and when you study what he said he would give you eternal life. And that's my message this morning. He even used the term grafted. They had grafting back then, 2,000 years ago. He said he was the true vine, or I'll use a persimmon tree. Jesus is the root stock. And we are grafted in. Life is in Jesus. He is life. He said, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. When we say we believe in him, when we understand him, he grafts us into him, and his life becomes our life. And yes, our mortal bodies will still die, but we will live on in another form, a spiritual form, which even though we can't imagine giving up the pleasures of the flesh and blood, we have been promised that the pleasures that await us in heaven are hugely better and more satisfying than the pleasures that we have in the mortal flesh and blood body. So I'm asking for an altar call, they call it in church. I'm asking for any of you out there that are ready to be grafted in to Jesus, the true vine, to do it now. Just like I did this work this morning, you can do it now. You can say, Jesus, yes, I accept you. Please save me, graft me into you. I know that you are God, you are the true God, you are the maker, and I am the mortal being. I am ready to be grafted into you and have eternal life. Now you can check out this if you want more information in the Holy Bible, in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But when you start reading that stuff and looking on YouTube, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to fool you. And they're trying to fool you into thinking that you have something to do with it. But you don't. God does it all. All you do is believe. And believe is something you do in your mind. And he'll take care of the rest. All right, we'd like to end this by saying the Lord's Prayer. And we would like you to push that button and subscribe to the channel. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer. We'd like you to say it with us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.